Good evening,
guys.
everybody. Welcome to Roo Hammer,
How are you, mate?
episode 34. How you going, buddy?
Good, mate. Yeah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, probably not quite as good as last week because I've joined you in the lockdown situation up here north of the
Absolutely.
border. So, as we all know, some strange things going on in the world at the moment, and yeah, COVID is not slowing down for anyone.
No, it's certainly not, is it? It's
Yeah.
How's your week been aside from that, though?
Yes, we've been locked down since Saturday. They just decided 10 a.m. Saturday morning that's it. We're going locked down by 4 p.m. that afternoon. So, yeah, it's been okay. I mean, working from home and everything. And, the daughter doing school from home now. So we're sort of adapting to that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
But otherwise, otherwise it's been all right. How about you? How about you guys?
Oh, mate, just same old for us. It kind of set into a routine now, you know. It's with no work, it's, you know, sit up all night, watch the Olympics, go to bed, wake up, you know, watch the Olympics, go for a walk, come home, watch the Olympics. It's 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 a bit frustrating, but you know, it is what it is, and you know, we just have to continue doing what's right, and and hopefully we come out of this sooner rather than later. So
yeah. G'day to everyone watching as well. G'day Stevie Williams watching on Facebook, Lennox through YouTube as well. So g'day fellas. Thanks everyone for joining us. And let's not get too down in the dumps because we do have one or two things to celebrate this week, don't we?
We do have a couple of things. Yeah, we do have a couple of things. But like you said, mate, it was a bizarre week up there for you guys.
The Queensland government immediate lockdown, the COVID Delta strain outbreak, the NRL suspending all games mid-round.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So
it was a very interesting situation. There was that period of uncertainty for a few hours there, but thankfully things worked out, which we will discuss in more detail in our set of 6 later in the show. We'll talk about all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also very privileged this week. We saw some great vision coming out of the camp that was shared by Cam George and Jace Fittis and Debs Welch from within the Warriors bubble of the emotional farewell haka that they did for RTS and Leeson as they left the group on Thursday morning. So fantastic scenes, emotional scenes.
Yeah, mate, it was a great haka. Not only by the Warrior squad, but others within that same bubble hub. So it was quite powerful and emotional. There were Kiwi players from like the Raiders, the Eels, Rabbitohs, and the Bulldogs who also performed, showing their level of respect and admiration, I guess, for Roger, which was a fitting send-off, you know, for such a humble servant of the game. I think poor old Leeson probably felt a little bit out of place with all that going on, standing there as the extra man next to RTS. But it was really emotional stuff, and it kind of sets in now. You know, when we saw him not run out, he's not named in the team list this week.
Pictures of him in
his rugby union garb.
Didn't take long, did it?
No, didn't take long at all.
It was never going to.
No. Good to see you, Mark Roberts. Heard you might have been in Facebook jail, but good to see you got your
He's got everything in order. He's back up and running. Great to have you as always, Mark. Yeah.
And Malcolm Earnshaw as well, and Christian. Good to see you all.
Thanks everyone for joining us as always.
Yeah.
So I guess we did mention that there was some good news this week. So what do you reckon we get stuck into our much needed win against the West Tigers on Friday night and the retention of some very important silverware? I think you might have something there to show the people.
It is the Mike Doreen Cup.
The Mike Doreen Cup.
Safely in the hands of the Warriors.
It'll be up for grabs again next year, Carl. So, yeah. Let's hope that Woogie gets the boys up for it.
Yeah, Woogie might not be there.
Oh, Dom Woganowski. Yeah. Yeah, as we said, so at the Friday night, Suncorp Stadium, Warriors 18 over the West Tigers 16. RTS and Leeson with departures and an unprecedented injury toll, as per usual, being par for the course this year. Josh
Yep.
Curran was a late withdrawal, and we saw a Warriors debutant, Viliami Valia, in the centres, and Ewan Aiken surprisingly moved into the back row.
Yep.
And congratulations to Vili becoming Warrior 264. And Hiku's selection at 6 coming on the back of a long injury layoff as well. And Nikarima coming off the bench. Some more interesting selections by Brownie. And, of course, Warrior 201, big Kenneth Mamalo playing his first game against his former club.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a hello to Nick McKercher, who's joined us, Warren Rafferty, and Richie Sterling from the standoff over there in New Zealand is tuned in. So,
G'day, Richie.
Hey, Richie, he's actually asked thoughts on you and Aitken's second row boys. Good option to keep in mind going forward. Yeah, I liked him. I thought he did really, really well. I was kind of
that way.
Yeah, mate, it was a weird selection choice for me when I first heard it. But, yeah, after seeing him play and, he had a high involvement, got his hands on the ball quite a bit, very good defensively. I think, he may make that transition. I mean, they've named him there again too. So, I'm looking forward to him moving forward in these last couple of games to see how he progresses in that position. And, it's great because it opens up another centre spot for some of these young kids coming through. We've got Berry, we've got Pompey. We saw Valea on the weekend. I was really impressed with Valea as well. I thought he's another one of those big kids, big
body. It's great to have different shapes and sizes in the centres. Obviously, we've had Berry there, and as you said, a big kid. Aiken for mine. I thought he always played like a second row anyway. He's more of a up straight hard runner. He runs good lines, so it's handy to have him out on the edge. And as we said before, the involvement, getting him more involved was always a big plus.
Yeah, it was. So, that game on Friday night, the Tigers had all that pre-game pressure on them. Everyone saying playing for their season. Everyone writing the Warriors off in this game due to, the personnel changes. And that was something probably in the Warriors' favour because the Tigers, as we've learnt to see over this season, don't handle that favourites tag very well at all. Referee Ben Cummins celebrated 400 games as referee, becoming the first official to do so. And it was, as per the norm for our club, the Warriors formed a guard of honour for Cummins as he came out on the field. Certainly out of respect for his achievement, but probably partly as an attempt to get in his good books, no doubt, for some of the 50-50 calls to come.
We see straight through you blokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The West Tigers, though, they suffered a massive loss in the opening minutes with Dane Laurie forced from the field with what was later diagnosed as a broken ankle. Geez, it looked ordinary, that footage.
Yeah, it did.
The Warriors' first good ball set from an escort penalty, and we impatiently threw a short pass, BMM or BA Baracus, pushing the pass. It was never on. We turned it over early in the set. And then the Warriors in their next set got a restart call, turning a simple yardage set into a good ball. And Sean O'Sullivan with a nice grubber. And at last, the debutant came close to William Avelia, got close to scoring that one. Unable to get
he did.
Clean hands on the ball, just got away from him there. And then the Tigers with the momentum shift, as we always say, have some good possession in the Warriors half. But we showed some good resolve in defence and held our line.
Yeah, we did, but that sustained pressure from the Tigers eventually cracked our defensive line. Nofaluma, scoring in the corner, and Adam Dewey with his radar boot converting from the sideline. The Warriors did create a bit of an opportunity through Dallin Wateni-Zalesniak line break. But again, another poor pass to Reece Walsh, and the ball's turned over cheaply again. And the forced passes and that impatient play really cost us some crucial scoring opportunities, I thought, in that those opening 20 minutes. And the Tigers capitalising on poor ball handling with an easy try to Moses on the back of some soft goal line defence, really. He was initially held up by 3 defenders, but simply just rolled over and planted the ball down.
Yeah, it was quite cringeworthy to watch that one. The back end of the first half with some really sloppy play, poor ball security, both sides really unable to capitalise on the momentum shifts and build any real pressure in their favour. So then the Tigers took that 10-0 lead. As we discussed in our live stream, when we were watching the show, it was the game, we're far from out of it. And if we could have just got to try, I thought either just before halftime or just after, we'd be back in it. And we just needed to play with a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
And the second half commences, and the Warriors got a good sort of run of possession and some good, a nice short ball from Petahiku, a late ball putting Ewan Aitken into a hole and running over, scoring basically untouched. And that got us right back in the game with Walshy nailing the conversion. So 10-6 and right back into it.
Yeah, we were. We were playing with a lot of intensity and like a really upbeat tempo. And got some good ball in the Tigers' half. We saw Bunty crash over for a relatively soft try close to the post. And Walsh with the conversion, the Warriors, first lead of the game, 12-10. Interesting that Jazz didn't come into the contest until about the 55th minute. But he wastes no time getting involved. And again, his late inclusion, particularly for his defence in that middle third with Lodge, AFB, Harrison, Egan all not playing, really has me questioning Brownie's bench rotation again. But Jazz got heavily involved around the ruck. He nearly put Sirinen over with a nice offload. And then we had a grubber kick that forced the line dropout. And then, the Tigers with that diabolical short dropout, pretty much falls straight in the hands of Ewan Aitken. And he scores the easiest try he's ever going to score in his career. Just walking through pretty much untouched again. And then Walshy with the sideline conversion for a 18-10 Warriors lead.
Yeah, just slots it. But as we always say, as per the norm, an incomplete set after points. It's absolutely our Achilles heel. A cheap turnover, and the Tigers with the ball in the red zone. Really bad defensive read from Sean O'Sullivan. If he's rushing up, has to make that tackle. And Adam Dillard absolutely strolls over for a try. Conversion has us up 18-16, but I always say a Warriors lead is only second. A Warriors 8-point lead is only seconds away from being a 2-point lead again. It's just like we always get out to that nice little cushion and it's gone.
Yep.
18 minutes to go though. You get the feeling that anything is possible with these two teams. Like when we were watching it, we're like, I was almost like, I can't watch. I don't know what's going to happen here. We could get another 5 or 6 tries in this last period here, or we could have nothing. And, a good set and a ruck penalty puts us back on attack. And with B.A. Barakis, a good hit up, and Petahiku with a good run on the next play. And he reached out, was just short of the line. I thought he might have got a tiny bit of ball on the chalk, but replays suggested he was just short. So it's been a Krishna Inu about that.
Yeah,
a little bit.
There was. I thought that we were doing everything we could to really shift the momentum. Sean O'Sullivan, he got a good one-on-one strip to get the team back on the attack. He backed that up with a really nice little kick for another forced dropout, showing that he does have a really good head under pressure. But then, we had that poor kick on the next set from Petahiku whilst we were pressuring the Tigers line, and that goes straight into Luke Brooks. And the Ghost runs the length of the field to score. But a review of that try shows Brooks played at the ball with his arm, knocking on, and so it gets caught back. Yeah, a bit of a lucky one for us.
Very lucky, yeah.
And then a scrum penalty, and we keep the pressure on, but it's another diabolical set of poor passes and cheap turnover to the Tigers, and we release all that pressure that we've kind of built for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Very poor 2-point field goal attempt from Dewey as well. Gives us a very important 7-tackle set. But then we ourselves put in a poor kick in the end of it, and it gives the Tigers a 7-tackle set. So we return serve. Pretty much indicative of the type of game. But both teams playing some very poor footy, it must be said, highlighted by the Tigers not getting to dummy half that play. I mean, that's schoolboy stuff. And then Walshy jumping on it because we were absolutely gone at that point.
Yeah, they were close to scoring.
Very close.
Yeah.
And the Tigers took another 2-point field goal attempt with Luke Brooks and gifting us a 7-tackle set with 1:30 left on the clock. And literally all we had to do at that point was just hold on to the ball for a hard-fought, but very ugly 18-16 win. A few cramps always seem to pop up in that last minute of a game, don't they?
Yeah,
Like
they do.
Every single bloke is having to stretch out. But the standard, as I said before, the standard of this game is indicative of where these two teams are on the ladder in the fight for 12th spot. So,
absolutely. There's a couple of comments coming through. Lennox said that ending was messier than his room. The Samoan Metalheads joined us from on YouTube, and Daniel Sexton as well.
Oh.
He's saying he thought the defense was pretty good last Friday. Questionable. My mum's joined.
When it needed to be, it was good, I think.
Look,
when it really had to be.
The Tigers will look at that game the same way we look at those games that we lost by, a point or 2 points in that throughout the season. And the two games that they've lost to us have both been games where in the dying minutes they could have won. We know that in that earlier game in round 11, they had that open side play on the last play of the game, and Alex Seafarth chose to pass the ball inside rather than outside, and we hold on for a 4-point win. And then this game, it's the Samoan Metalhead is Ciala.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Ciala.
It's 2 and 2 together.
And then obviously that Reece Walsh jump out from dummy half to get that ball, we were on the back foot there. And I think if the Tigers get to the end of that set, there was an opportunity for them to post more points and possibly win that game. So I think Madge or Woogie would be very, very upset with how they finished off those two games. So again, it was very close to being another one of those, close losses that got out of our hands. I think I also said to you before the game, RTS departing was going to have one of two effects on the squad. It was either boost them for a massive effort or totally deflate the squad. Now, I won't say it was a massive effort, but it was good to see them dig deep to get that win after the disastrous past 7 games where we've lost. It's actually the first game of the season where we've won when we've been down at halftime.
There's a stat.
Ewan Aitken, again, we spoke about him, but I think he had his strongest game since coming to the club, playing out of position in that back row.
And hands down his strongest.
163 metres, 2 tries, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. The interesting stat was the 41 tackles that he did too, not known as a defender. And it was Peta Hiku for me coming back into that squad that was probably the determining factor of how we won that game. His experience and level-headed approach in the heat of battle was very important. There was a post-game interview that he did, and Sia did a great post on this on Facebook talking about Pet's level-headedness. Just saying that basically he said, I think we need to go back to grinding out teams, tiring them out instead of attacking a French defensive team. I think Walshy, Shawnee, they did a great job managing the game a bit slower and not going off the ruck. But there was one point where we were ahead by 2 points, and Walshy tried to take a quick tap, and I had to pull him back a bit and tell him we were ahead, get the game in our control, and we'll be able to finish it. And I think it's these little things to teach our young players, and that to me just shows that level of intelligence, game awareness, game smarts that Peta Hiku brings, and how different our season could have been had he not got injured and missed all those games through the middle part of the season.
Yeah, exactly. It was Hiku's experience that's so crucial to the young guys out there, and you can't buy that kind of thing like that. You can only get that through experience.
Yeah.
And great to see DWZ get his first win of the season. Obviously, a few losses there with the doggies.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been great for us though. I've been really impressed with him ever since he came in for that Dragons game. Even in the losing teams, he's come in, taken pressure off our forwards. Some great runs, good meters, and he looks fast.
Yeah, he does.
Which is the most exciting aspect.
Nothing against Ken Mamalo, but they're chalk and cheese in what they bring to the team. Ken was great for those hard early runs starting off the set, but then you wouldn't really see him for the rest of the set. Whereas Dallin keeps getting involved, and I think his experience at playing fullback, his experience of being a captain for his country as well, I think really comes to the fore because he's always looking for work. He's sniffing around, and you're right. He's been absolutely sensational for us, both he and Montoya. Montoya, for me, has been
Montoya. Yeah,
he's been the one that's really surprised me, because when we bought him last year, I kind of looked at our roster and thought, where's he going to fit in? Where's he going to get game time? But he's the guy that
injury cover at best. You were kind of thinking, eh?
Yeah,
a depth signing.
He's the guy for me that has probably been our most consistent player all year. He's taken the opportunities with both hands. On the game just past, it was Dallin with 190 and Montoya with 195 metres respectively, who were our leading metre readers. We had 8 other players in that 100. We had Aiken with 163. Again, massive for a guy playing out of position. Hiku at 5'8" with 132, obviously running a lot with the ball. Pompey with 124, Jazz with 121 in only 25 minutes, mind you, for Jazz. Walsh 116 from the back, a little bit quiet. Bunty with 115 off the bench. O'Sullivan 111 from halfback. So again,
right. That's very good. Yeah.
Bit of running for our halves, and then Bailey Sirinen with 109, and it was Sirinen and Aitken, 52 and 41 tackles respectively, the best in the defensive stats.
Yeah, Ciro's a real quiet achiever, isn't he? He gets stuck into the defence and racks up the tackles. You
and I have both said lately he's been a little bit disappointing, but it's probably because we haven't. I mean, the losses have probably glossed over the work that he has been doing in defence.
Yeah. I mean, they're great stats, and you bring them up when we win, but then it's like, as you said, it gets absolutely glossed over in those kind of losses where all you're focusing on is what went wrong.
Mark Roberts said, would it have been a slap in the face of DWZ to give Hiku the captain's armband, though? Wouldn't you say? I don't know, bro, because I think Brownie realised the struggles that Roger had captaining the side from the wing, and he needs someone that's going to be closer to the play. And I think that was probably...
Yeah, Hiku's been with the group longer as well.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just out of respect for that, it's been... And for his, a player of his experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I enjoyed Brownie's post-match conference as well. It's interesting when he said that Ricky Stewart and Hook had contacted him offering players as loans for the side, and he said they weren't. He said that was obviously very kind of them, a generous offer, but he wasn't going to partake because it doesn't really help the future of the club. And he's looking to give these guys that are, contracted to the club and going to be here as part of the future of our club, give them a game and give them a bit of experience towards the end of the season.
I love that attitude.
Persevere with their development. Absolutely. It was awesome to hear that.
Yeah. I find Brownie in his post-match press conference very similar to Toddy Payton from last year, where, if we've got deficiencies, he speaks about them. He doesn't hide behind them. And he's obviously holding guys accountable for, the mistakes that they're making on the field. As we've seen, in the past couple of weeks where Ben Murdoch-Masila, who's been down on form of late, hasn't been in the mix for the game day squad.
Definitely.
Murch, with his poor handling in the last game he played, hasn't really featured in the squad naming. Again, finding himself on the extended bench this week. So I really like Brownie's attitude, and for him to be saying that, he's happy to, thanks very much, Hook, thanks very much, Sticky, but we're going to persevere with what we've got and develop our players. I love that. I think it's a great thing moving forward, because it gives these guys in the back end of a season that we can, honestly say we're not going to be playing finals footy. It's a great opportunity to blood these guys into a first grade environment and fast track their development a little bit rather than them sitting on the sideline not getting much game time. So just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's probably more helping out the other clubs as well by giving their fringe players a run. So it's good to use this situation as when there's not so much pressure, as you said before, to give these guys a run. So they go into the next season with about 3 or 4 games under their belt. They're not going in as complete rookies, some of the guys that haven't had a run yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Matty Loder's joined us. Good evening, Matt. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, Mark, there is still a chance to get in the finals. It's quite interesting because if you go and read stuff on a lot of the like rugby league affiliated pages, they're talking about, like, James Tarmo's come out for the Tigers and said, he's got to step up in these last couple of rounds, and play more of a leader's role, so because they can still qualify for the finals. But they're sitting below us on the table on for and against. Yet no one's talking about the Warriors having a chance to make the finals. I know, for me, yes, there's a mathematical chance, and there's a lot of those teams are from 7th down to 14th or 13th that are only 2 points or 4 points away from each other. And for us to make finals, we need to win our remaining 5 games.
A lot has to go right. A lot has to go right.
And we have to rely on other teams to lose a lot of their games. So,
it all starts on Saturday. Like, if we take 2 points off the Sharks, and then we take the 2 points off the Raiders, and you take the 2 points off, we've got the Bulldogs who aren't really in the frame, and then we've got the Titans as well in the last round, because that could be pivotal. So we take the 2 points off all those sides, but then we're sort of relying on a few teams kind of falling in a heap as well.
Yep.
Losing quite a few games, getting touched up for and against, getting blown out, those sorts of things. But there's a chance,
But
absolutely.
again, we've got to take care of our own backyard first. So it's obviously, we've got to win the games. And if we continue winning, then, everything else will work itself out. And if we get to the end of like round 25 and we've won these last 5 or 6 games on the run home and we don't make the semis, well, we put ourselves in with a chance. And, it's just a couple of those opportunities earlier in the season that didn't go our way. But I'd be very upset if we finish 9th, because that is where the Tigers are supposed to be finishing. So, so I don't know how life will be in this house if we take 9th of the Tigers, and I've got to go through that for the whole off season with Carl. It's
got to be the worst position to finish. It's got to be 9th has to be the worst position to finish. You'd almost, with all due respect to the Tigers and Carl and everything, but you'd almost rather finish last, because people actually react to that. Yeah. Whereas when you're 9th, they go, we're pretty close, just need to tweak a few little things.
Mate, I'm watching the Olympics, 4th. 4th in the Olympic final is the worst position to finish.
Yeah.
People, and, I
felt not a sausage in it.
Oh, mate, I felt sorry for the guy. What's up?
Oh, man, it'd be Roo Hammer. This is outrageous. I'm done.
He's out the door.
Sorry, mate. It's not personal.
I was watching the men's discus, I think it was, and the Aussie guy finished 4th by 5 centimeters in the discus from getting a medal, but he did his personal best. So you can't complain when you're doing your best, but finished. Yeah, I know.
It's a bittersweet. That's the definition of like a bittersweet, isn't it?
Absolutely. Mate, should we go through the rest of that round 20, the results?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So on Thursday night, we had a game up in Mackay. The Roosters 28 over the Eels donut, 0. Roosters with tries to Morris, Tupanua, Walker, Tupou, and Joey Manu, and Adam Kieran kicking 4 goals from 5 attempts.
Yep.
No score to the Eels. This game, as I said, taken up to Mackay, which was awesome for the region up there to get an NRL fixture, especially to have 2 teams high on the competition table as well. Both teams had really strong squads and looking to cement themselves in the top 4 and a chance, to get those 2 bites of the cherry in the semis. Yep. And the physicality of defence mixed with the humidity up there and the dewy conditions, so there was ball handling wasn't the greatest, and a few errors in the tackle for both teams, and there was a few turnovers, poor completion rate and the like, and Para lost their front row enforcer, Snidely Whiplash.
Yeah.
Snidely Whiplash from the show, what's the cartoon?
The Wacky Races, wasn't it?
Something like that. Dick Dastardly, one of his men, was it? Rocky and Bullwinkle or something like that, Regan Campbell-Gillard is, of course, who we're referring to. And he had a hamstring injury inside the first 20. Some good structure and ball movement in the early sets by both teams, though, countered by the defence of both teams.
Yeah, I thought the Roosters were uncharacteristically poor under the high ball early. We saw Tedesco, Morris, and Tupu all dropping bombs with no real pressure on them. But the Eels, getting good ball sets there, unable to convert those good ball sets into points, due to that tenacious defensive scrambling that the Roosters have developed over the last couple of seasons. But not being able to convert the field position into points proves costly for the Eels. And Josh Morris scored first points of the match off a Sam Walker long shift to the right, which was pretty much effectively against the run of play.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you see that, though, when one team has all the possession and they can't get the ball over the line, and then quick as you like, the other team gets the ball, goes up the other end and scores. Happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
Roosters go back-to-back. Satili Tupanua having a great season.
Yep.
From a Tedesco line break to put the Eels under pressure at the end of the first half there. That was his 11th try of the season and fourth in 4 games. And he's a great replacement for Boyd Cordner at the moment.
Absolutely, he is, yeah. Yeah, he's doing everything right to let Trent Robinson know he is the man to fill that void permanently. There has been chatter about the Roosters looking for a back row replacement because of Cordner's retirement, but they'd be better off spending their money elsewhere. Because I think Tupanua's done everything to make that position his own. I thought Tedesco looked very uncomfortable under the high ball for most of the match. It was almost as if he was misjudging the kicks or the flight in the air because he kept catching them like high up on his shoulder.
It did seem to be that way. He's just misjudging them.
The Eels also lost Wonga Blake. He failed a HI at halftime, so they were down to 15 on the bench. And I just really thought they struggled for any direction without Mitch Moses. I know, Daddy's boy was, he's got a good kicking game on him, but both him and Brown just not stepping up when the Eels really needed them to on the back of sets with their fifth tackle options, a real mixed bag. Moses, a massive factor in that result for the Eels, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. And the Roosters were really controlled that second half. And they played with far more patience than the Eels did and created way more opportunities. And our mate Adam Kieran with a great performance in the centres. And Joey, the wonder kid, Manu, another standout performance with 373 metres, which is a new NRL record, taking it from RTS from a couple of seasons ago.
Yep.
1 try, 2 line breaks. The Eels now under a bit of pressure to remain in that top 4, and they've got a really tough run home. They've got to play Souths, Manly, Cowboys, Storm, Penrith. So, I mean, take the Cowboys out of that. Probably couldn't have a tougher run home.
Yeah, I can't see them finishing in the top 4. I think they'll drop to 6th, and with Manly or the Roosters finishing 5th, in my opinion, and that'll mean Parramatta will lose and drop straight out of the semis, and that in itself is going to put Brad Arthur under a lot of pressure, I think, at Parramatta.
For sure.
Because for so long, every season it's they're there and abouts, but they just haven't been able to take that next step to being in that grand final race, and I think they're going to miss out again this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that they seem to be probably a 4th place finish at best. And staggering to think that they could completely drop out.
Absolutely. There's some good comments coming through too. I won't read them all out because once they disappear off my screen, I can't see them. Mark Roberts says Joey Manu was dropped back to about 330. Yeah, he was. I did see that. Yeah. Christian's got Manly for top 4. Absolutely.
Sure.
And then Massey McDonald is talking about how he's a proud, staunch supporter. How the boys have been away for so long. How they're still performing this season is still a credit to the club, and I agree.
Absolutely.
The first Friday night game was our game, which we've already discussed. The great win by the Warriors. The second game was the second game at Suncorp Stadium. Broncos 37 over the Cowboys 18. Broncos with tries to Katoni Staggs 2, Asako, Glenn, Croft, and Ricky. Asako kicking 6 from 7. And the Cowboys with tries to Granville, Dearden, and Kyle Felt, with Scotty Drinkwater kicking 3 from 4. This was the second game of the Suncorp doubleheader between two teams struggling for inconsistency all season. And gee, what a bonanza Friday night footy was up there at Suncorp, with the team sitting 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th on show. Yeah, that was what an
real treat. Absolute treat.
What a treat. Toddy's Cowboys were looking to keep a mathematical chance of semi-final footy alive, and the Broncos looking to put a gap between them and their second possible wooden spoon. Katoni Staggs bagged a double as the Broncos survived a second half comeback to all but end those the Cowboys finals hope. Stagg combined with Tyson Gamble and Jordan Ricky throughout the night to prove the massive difference for the Broncos, who produced a clinical performance really to claim their 5th win of the season.
Yep, and the Cowboys down 10-0. It was their hooker turned fullback. Jake Granville opened their account in the 20th minute, but a mistake from Francis Molo from the kickoff opened up the door for Brisbane to hit straight back through Katoni Staggs. They caught our disease there.
Yeah.
The Broncos iced their chances early to cross for 4 tries in the first half to take a 22-12 lead into the break, and Staggs made it a double after the break to set up a 16-point lead advantage over the visitors. But they bounced back through 150 gamer Kyle Felt in the corner to reduce the deficit. And the try sneak himself looked to have crossed again in the 61st minute, set up a grandstand finish, but they were denied by the NRL bunker just moments before Scotty Drinkwater was about to take that kick. And there was really nothing in this. I have seen a lot worse than that one allowed, I must say. They slowed it down to the nth degree, and, I suppose it is the letter of the law, but you play at normal speed. It looked like a try every day of the week. But anyway, it was disallowed.
Yeah, he's
agonizingly close.
Yeah, he was. But his milestone match turned from bad to worse when he was pinned for being offside from that short dropout that led to the Broncos extending their lead to 2 converted tries with 10 minutes to play. I thought Jordan Ricky was pretty good for the Broncos, busting the line twice in plays that led to tries through Alex Glenn and Bodie Croft. And the Cowboys have now slumped to 7 straight losses and are well and truly out of finals contention now. Forward leader Payne Haas was again monumental for the Broncos with 20 runs from 172 metres, while Taumalolo, he did his best to inspire the Cowboys with 174 metres from 17 runs, but I still don't think his involvements are enough for a guy on the paycheck that he's earning up there.
Yeah, they'll be needing a bit more from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
some good questions coming through. There's Caden Rogers asks, if Parra aren't content with finishing no higher than 4th over the past few seasons, do they move Brad Arthur on knowing that the risk is that they might finish lower under a new coach? The problem that Parra have is what coaches are available, with good pedigree. That they've invested a lot of time and money in Brad Arthur, but yeah, it could be the same thing like Maguire when he was at South. He got them to that premiership and then things started to wane away. And I think Parra might have missed their premiership opportunity in the past 2 seasons, and they might be going on that fall down the back side of that.
Very slowly, you can you get the impression that they are, sort of slightly declining each season. So
yeah, and Mark Roberts has hit us with another nickname, Katoni Staggs, now known as Cabroken Staggs. So
Cabroken Staggs.
Well done.
Yes, nice one. Yeah, we love the player nicknames. Any that you have, keep them coming through. We had the bizarre scenario, obviously, on Saturday when there was no games because of the COVID lockdown. So we went. I think old Peter Volandis had to get his negotiating skills on again, and they were able to work out that they could complete the round on the Sunday and the Monday night. So we had a triple header on Sunday afternoon.
Interesting that they changed the times around for these games too, so that the Penrith-Melbourne game became the 4:00 game on Sunday for Channel 9 purposes.
How convenient for Channel 9, hey?
Absolutely.
Because weren't they going to have was it the Canterbury game? Or was
No,
it
they would have had
Manly
this.
game?
They were going to have the Manly game.
Yeah, so
Manly Cronulla.
amazing how well that worked out for them, hey?
Yeah.
So the first game on Sunday was the Knights 34 over the Raiders 24. Knights Tuala with a hat trick, Best, Mann, and Ponga getting tries. Jake Clifford 5 goals from 7 attempts, and for the Raiders, Smith Shields, Papali'i, Young, and Emre Gula with tries, and Jared Croker ever reliable 4 from 4.
Yep.
Sam Williams playing his 100th game for the Raiders, which was surprising to me because he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
That was his 100th game coming into the team on the back of 3 straight wins. And they're actually one of the form teams in the comp. Hitting form probably just at the right time for them to make a push for that 7th or 8th spot. And the Knights with some inconsistent form of late, struggling, and with Pearce still injured, and Kalen Ponga and a chisel-jawed Bradman Best, both fully fit for this season. The final clash for the Knights. And the Knights, they had 70% of possession to start the game, were full of running, and they made the most of it early. 2 converted tries in the opening 10 minutes. And both tries were down the Knights' left side to Inari Tuala and chisel-jawed Best.
Yeah.
Ramjet, if we call him.
Ramjet. The Raiders got a big momentum shift from penalties inside the Knights 20-metre midway through that half and had their real first scoring opportunities. But the Knights' defence really held firm, and denied the Raiders and forced a mistake, which was great because the Knights have been pretty soft in that online defence of the past couple of rounds. They got their 3rd try from a pinpoint Clifford bomb with Kurt Mann out jumping everyone to score. But the Raiders start to win that battle of the field position with the Knights unable to get out of their half on ensuing sets. And a kick out on the full from Jake Clifford is a massive momentum shift in the favour of the Raiders. And they didn't waste that opportunity with a try to Harley Smith-Shields, and Jared Croker nails the sideline conversion, which moved him clear of Jonathan Thurston on the all-time point scorers list into 3rd spot on his own. Now just behind Cameron Smith and Hazmel Masri. But the Knights finished the half the way they started. Jake Clifford line break results in Inari Tuala getting a double to end the half for a 22-6 lead. And it was kind of really against the run of play or the run of expectation. Based on, the last couple of weeks, I really thought the Raiders were primed for a big game. And I think the Knights just jumped out of the box and caught them napping.
Yeah, they got off to a hot start, but after the break, the Raiders completed about 90%, and they got some good attacking momentum early in that second half and some sustained pressure and some great second phase play results from Big Puppy, Josh Papali'i, of course, crashing over next to the posts. I thought it was game on again, but then the Knights steal the momentum away with a one-on-one strip from Mitch Barnett, huge play, and they keep the momentum with a Jordan Ripper on a drop ball from a Clifford kick. Yeah. The Raiders' defense held firm, and their ball handling lets them down again. The Knights making the most of another opportunity and good ball, and then the shift gives Tuala his 3rd try in the left corner, and that was his first career hat-trick. The Raiders tried hard to shift the momentum with some tough defense, but the Knights did well to really share the workload around.
Yeah, they did. Crucial error in the play of the ball by the Raiders, again in their own half, resulted in Kalen Ponga, slicing through the defensive line from to cross for the Knights' six try in that very next set. Canberra with a glimmer of hope with 10 minutes to go score a long-range try from a piece of Jack White and Bruins to put Hudson Young in. And then the kebab boy himself, Emre Gula, scores on full time to add some respectability to the scoreline. But, mate, the Knights were just too good. It was a good win on the back of some great involvement from the Knights' big men. Daniel Saifidi, 166 metres. Jacob Saifidi, 137. And Dave Clemmer, 168 off the bench. Really keeping the Knights' semi-final chances alive. And Jordan Rapana, probably Canberra's best. Outstanding in a beaten side with his involvement from fullback, 233 metres, 2 offloads, one line break and about 47 cuts to his head. He was, he was very, very good. And in answer to your question, Caden Rogers, yes, carpentry is the best trade to get into.
What was his question?
I'll
ask one more time. I'm interested.
I've seen it come up, but I've been in league mode, not building mode. So we're going to get to it eventually. Yeah.
So that brings us to the game that we mentioned before, the big blockbuster, the grand final replay of sorts, the Storm 37 over the Panthers 10. Storm tries to Dean Iramia, got a hat trick.
Yeah.
Smith, Remus Smith, Bromwich, Grant, and then Munster, 4 from 4. Sorry, Pappenhausen, 4 from 4. Munster and Hines also got a kick each, and Pappenhausen with a field goal. And tries to the Panthers, to Powder Naden and Sorensen and Burton 1 from 2. Billed as a grand final replay, as I said, but with the injuries and of some sort to the Panthers side, he was never going to live up to that, live up to that grand final replay hype.
No.
And Melbourne welcomed back Cam Munster into the starting side and Harry Grant back on the bench for his first game since round 15. And Penrith were missing their enforcer, James Fisher-Harris, and Origin Stars, the Cyborg, To'o, Zaio, Fun Times Appy. So they were far from full strength, but they were looking to make a statement against, the red hot Storm. And Melbourne heading into this game on the back of 15 wins in a row, only 4 of those wins at home. Such is the resilience of this team. It's amazing.
It is, mate. Yeah, there's something else at that Melbourne Storm side. Both teams started the game quite well, playing some really good attacking football. Both teams, obviously, the form teams of the comp, played at the defensive line with shape, but what we saw in attack was met with defence, and both teams equally up to the task. Melbourne did get with 2 early line breaks. The first to Baby Bigfoot, Kenny Bromwich, who put the Fox away down the sideline, and the second from Jerome Hughes through the middle. But both shut down by some really good scrambling Penrith defence. The sustained pressure that Melbourne are able to build from repeat sets sees Remus Smith score from a right side shift running at Robert Jennings, who for me was always going to be the obvious target for the Storm with his limited game time this season. I think it's his first game played this season. So a lot of pressure on him coming onto that wing.
Well, you said it. A target he was with the Storm scoring on consecutive sets. Josh Adokar with a crossfield kick towards Jennings' wing. What a great play that was.
Yeah.
And Iramia getting a great bounce and got his hands on the ball and scores next to the post. And the Storm were capitalising on all the momentum and poor discipline from the Panthers. Again, it's another try to Dean Iramia on that Jennings wing, and common sense prevailed as well with the replay of that. They went upstairs to check for obstruction, but Kikau just dead set falling over. And it's good to see that they didn't play the man there. Jennings will be having nightmares out there, as we said.
Yeah.
And Penrith do manage to get some attacking momentum in Melbourne's half, but the absolute relentless nature of the Storm defence absorbs it all. And all of the Panthers' attack, and Cam Munster and Brandon Smith were with a miraculous play to hold up our mate Casper Martin over the line. And a dominant first half, leading 18-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was. And they continued that dominance in the second half with a try to the Sasquatch, Jesse Bromwich, following some more sustained goal line pressure from the Storm. Penrith did try to shift the momentum and build some pressure, but unable to earn forced dropouts for a repeat set on Melbourne's line. Melbourne again, with relentless defence, they deny the Panthers and turn defence into attack in the blink of an eye, and Harry Grant dives over from dummy half to extend the lead. Dean Aramaya got his third try of the match, picking up the spoils from a Dylan Edwards drop bomb, which was his first career hat-trick. Penrith's 2022 Bulldogs connection of Burton and Powder Naden finally break the Melbourne defence with a try on the left edge, and then a soft try to Sorensen next to the post that would no doubt upset Craig Bellamy. Put a little bit of respectability into the score. Admittedly, it was a weakened Panthers outfit, but mate, the Storm just way too clinical in all facets of their performance, extending their unbeaten run to 16 games now. And really, who is going to be able to stop this Melbourne side on a run to another grand final?
Yeah, nobody. That's who, in my opinion. They are
Yeah.
looking absolute specials. But another team that is playing very well is the Rabbitohs.
Yep.
And they were next up, or they were the last game on the Saturday night. Rabbitohs 50, Sunday night, sorry, I should say. Rabbitohs 50 over the Dragons 14. Rabbitohs with Latrell Mitchell with a double. Walker, Milne, Sewer, Mansour, Reynolds, Arrow, Kolomatangi tries. Reynolds 7 from 9. The Dragons tries to Boo Earns, Fui Moano, and Sloan, and Norman 1 from 3. Isn't he struggling off the tee? Dragons with a much different lineup as usual because of their rolling suspensions and rotating ins and outs. And they're taking on the Red Hot Bunnies. So they did get an almost dream start from Ben Hunt kick when Jackson Paulo spilling the bomb and Fagai scoring, but the bunker picking up a Corey Norman knock on in the lead up. They've got the Bunnies off the hook there. After an uncharacteristically sloppy start, Souths get an early try to Mitchell on that lethal left-hand side. Souths making plenty of metres in the ball in hand and a pinpoint kicking game. And the Dragons absolutely struggling with so many players playing out of position and to get out of their own end.
Yeah, they were. The Rabbits really worked that Dragons' defence over. They'd shift to the right and then they'd come back to the left and then they go back to the right and then back to the left for Cody Walker to score in the corner. And from then, you just got the sense, with how depleted that Dragon side is, it was just going to be another points fest for the Rabbits. The Dragons made the most of their first foray into Rabbits territory with a much-needed try to Billy Burns. And then South, with some ill discipline, continued to give the Dragons repeat sets in their own half, and the Dragons make the Rabbits pay for their indiscretions with a Tyrell Fui Mayono scoring. Ben Hunt with a massive 40-20 keeps the momentum in the Dragons' favour. And then South were really forced to defend for long periods of time on their own line. But they were able to weather the storm and then capitalise on a period of good possession. And our mate, one-game warrior, Tane Milne, scores. And then that sustained pressure keeps building. Repeat sets keep building. And then Jaden Sewell crashes over just before half-time.
Yeah, and South continue their dominance in that second half after a few missed opportunities. And Josh Mansour gets a try in the corner. The second half surprisingly turns into a little bit of an arm wrestle for most of the half. Neither team really sort of grabbing ascendancy or any significant momentum. And then a Tom Burgess loose pass turns over possession cheaply for Souths, and the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan got one back for the Dragons, I should say.
Yeah.
And kept them in with a chance. It was 30-14. But then Adam Reynolds with a retro-style chip and chase, obviously for retro round. I haven't seen one of those in a while since Blake. Chip and chase by Blake. Scores his first try in 12 games to take the lead out to past 3 converted tries. Managed to stay in the dead ball line this time.
Yeah, it was a good try. Good little play from Adam Reynolds. South then go back to back. Started off by a customary Latrell Mitchell run, brushing off defenders. A run that he actually had 5 tackle busts in that one run. And the quick play the ball, Jai Arrow scores off a simple outside-inside play. Then Kolomatangi scores from a simple crash play, and then fittingly Latrell scores the last try of the match with a solid run to the line. South have been guilty of not defending their errors on numerous occasions this season, and although the win moves them level with Penrith on 34 points, it's that stat alone which puts them significantly adrift of both Penrith and Melbourne, and that's something they're going to have to clean up because realistically, the Dragons really shouldn't have scored points on them. Such a depleted Dragons outfit, and South's pretty much at full strength, all bar a couple of injuries. Mark Roberts asked, so the Dragons are the worst team in the comp at the moment. We'll see this week, mate, because they get everyone back this week, so they're named. I mean, it's a weird, odd team named anyway, but I would say, they'll go close to. I can't see the Dragons winning another game. That's
what is so frustrating about the fact that we just gave away that win to them a few weeks ago, because that's pretty much the only win they've had in recent times.
Yeah.
Yeah, still bugs.
Any word on Joey Manu coming to the club? Well, there can't be any word until after November 1st because Manu can't negotiate because he's still under contract for next season. at the Roosters. So no talk until then. So everything that you're seeing in the media at the moment, which is fucking every day on Facebook, is just speculation and conjecture. Yes, the Warriors are interested and they will be making a play at him, but as far as any developments, there won't be any until after November 1st.
Yes, correct. The first game on Monday night was the Titans 34 over the Bulldogs 6. Titans tries to Brian Kelly got a double. Big Tino, Isan Masters, Marzu, Taylor, and Sexy Sexton with 5 from 6. And the Bulldogs, Blondie Odo. Apologies for that, butchering that one. Right. And the Scarecrow 1 from 1.
Yep.
And the Bulldogs dealt a huge blow. Their form player, Luke Thompson, failing in the judiciary during the week and copping a suspension, ruling him out of the game. And Thompson has been easily the Bulldogs' main go-forward man. And against a mobile Titans forward pack that's starting to find some form, how the Bulldogs were able to cover Thompson's absence was always going to be important and how they were going to fare in this one. Interestingly, though, Coach Holbrook chose to start his $1 million man, the Enigma, David Fafita from the bench.
Yeah. For mine, he needs to be starting and playing 80 minutes if there are any chance of making a dent in the semi-finals. I just think, because when he comes on, he's not really used as an impact player. And Fafita's an 80-minute player, and the guys around him will get the confidence if he's out there playing some good footy. That's just my thoughts anyway. It was a pretty even start to the game. The Bulldogs showed some good attack, and the Titans not really aiming up in defence to start off. The first momentum shift of the game, an early 40-20 from Ash Taylor, but the Titans, again, they show no patience in their sets with a rush kick on the fourth, and it's something that, they've been really guilty of all season. And the Dogs really looked the better of the two sides early on, making easy meters in sets and finishing with a good fifth tackle kick close to the Titans line. But the poor discipline from the Dogs give the Titans multiple set restarts, and the Titans make the Dogs pay with Big Tino scoring under the post. But that's been the Dogs' biggest thing this year, is that they've started games really well, but then just fall away just as quickly.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, they probably looked the more likely of the teams, and the Titans weren't really building any pressure.
No.
But then tries to Isan Masters and Brian Kelly within minutes of each other gave the Titans a boost of confidence, and they finished the first half, full of running. Warrior 196, Sambo skipper, Sam Lasone, really making a difference with his running game and also showing off his offload game, and pretty good passing game from Big Sambo there.
Yeah.
Something he did quite well in his 20s days, but he was told to put it in the back pocket once he got up to first grade, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that he was renowned for when coming through the 20s. And let's not forget that season, the 2014 season, when he was co-captain with Mason Linnor. So, they had big raps on Sammy back then. But it's great to see him getting some decent minutes and playing some good footy. We all know he's the partner of a great friend of the show, Georgia Hale.
Yeah.
The second half was an error fest initially, with both teams failing to maintain possession and build any pressure whatsoever. A drop kick by the Bulldogs falls into the hands of Big Greg Marzu, who raced away to score under the posts. And the Bulldogs managed to shift the momentum off the back of a great run from Jackie Hetherington, but it ends with the same result: poor ball security, a cheap turnover of possession, and the Titans make the Bulldogs pay with Ash Taylor scoring at the other end of the field.
So just on our mate Heathrow finding himself on report yet again for a high tackle. Surely not. Must be another Jack Hetherington.
Yeah.
The ensuing penalty sees Jared Wallace with a well-timed offload. That was a great pass.
It was.
From a big man to Brian Kelly to pick up his second of the night. And the Bulldogs finally get on the board late in the first half through a try to avoid another donut on their scorecard.
Yep.
And the win takes the Titans into 7th place on the ladder, and their finals chances are really now in their own hands with 5 games left.
Yeah, it is. It is, and we'll talk about them a bit later on. But yeah, they when we preview this week's game. But yeah, it is. They're in the the prime position to be playing finals footy now. They've broken into that top 8, and now it's all on them to be able to keep in that position. Marcus did Scambo skipper. He was actually on the field for a good time this week. Did he get penalised? I don't think he did. So no doubt he can chat to Jazz about that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, does Jazz want to write a reply there? We'll get a comment from him.
And the final match of the round, which would have been a punish for our New Zealand fans at 10 o'clock at night over there,
yeah,
was Manly 40 over the Sharks 22. Tommy Turbo, 3 tries. Jason Saab, 2. Reece Feldman, 1 try. Ruben Garrick, 1 try. Garrick, 6 from 7. And the Sharks, Kennedy, 2 tries. Trindle, 2 tries. And Trindle, 4 from 4. The season-ending injury to Sean Johnson was always going to affect the Sharks because he was really controlling the games for them those past few weeks. Manly go into the game with their celebrity pairing in the centres of Hank Scorpio and Reece Feldman, who are primed to make a run for the top 4 berth with Parramatta's recent inconsistent form and the Roosters clinging on despite their horrid injury run. Now, if nobody knows who Reece Feldman is, go and watch the movie Starsky and Hutch with Ben Stiller and
Vince Vaughn's villain.
Yeah, it's Vince Vaughn's character in Starsky and Hutch. Bring up a photo of that, with a perm and the moustache.
Yep.
That's Morgan Harper, 100%.
Yeah.
Manly with a solid start, almost resulting in early points, but Ruben Garrick stumbling before the line, and Trindle getting the try over in the corner. A long kick recovered by Saab and a Vibe Man Schuster play on the next set. Sees Manly building pressure and momentum against a Cronulla scrambling defence.
And then Manly got their first points to Jason Saab, scoring under ridiculous circumstances in the corner, where the bounce of the ball eluded Feldman and Kennedy and just literally bounced up for Saab to score. I'm not quite sure what the difference was between that and Kyle Felt, but anyway, make your own mind up. Manly go back-to-back with Saab getting his second try and a simple shift to the right, and Turbo with a 2-on-1 for the try assist to put Saab in the corner there. Manly in full control in the opening 20, and they go coast-to-coast with Tommy Turbo showing why he's regarded as best in the game at the moment anyway, and drawing in defenders and putting Reece Feldman away for a try there, dotting down. Cronulla do manage to get the sun ball in Manly's half and shift the momentum with Will Kennedy showing his speed to leaving Hank Scorpio in his dust on the outside for Cronulla's first try, and left him clutching at his flamethrower there. Both teams settle into a real contest, but the Sharks playing for the semi-finals, showing a lot of fight despite Manly's early dominance. And then some repeat sets to the first half, and the Sharks score a controversial try, it must be said, to Braden Trindle, who was offside when Nakoro got a touch on the ball. However, he ended up running Trindle onside, and the try stood for a 16-10 half-time score.
Just quickly, yes, Mark Roberts, he is the nephew of Johnny Schuster, who played for the All Blacks, and he played, I think Johnny Schuster had a stint at Newcastle Knights too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, in the early 90s.
Yeah, so he is the nephew of Johnny Schuster. He is a Kiwi. He'll definitely be in the mix for a Kiwi Test jersey. Manly begin their second half playing up-tempo footy. Tommy Turbo scored a hat-trick in like 15 minutes of that second half, which just put the game well and truly in Manly's control. Manly had all the momentum. Tommy Turbo was playing like he had spiders on him. Got his third try assist for the match, putting Ruben Garrick over in the corner. And all this frustration of having no answer to Manly's relentless attack obviously affected Wish Drogo as he put a little headbutt into Ruben Garrick, and he was sent from the field, sent to the sin bin, which put more pressure on an already struggling Sharks defence. However, the Sharks, amazingly, realising the importance of for and against, I guess, show a bit of fight and resilience and unlikely scorers with the player down. But Will Kennedy and Braden Trindle both pick up tries each. Taniela Paseka with a deliberate trip on debutant Luke Metcalf is sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. leveling up the player numbers for the last part of the game. Mate, the final minutes of the game are error-laden. Both teams, making errors. But it was, Manly with another Tommy Turbo masterclass, and now only 2 points out of that top 4. Will Chambers back to his sledging best during that second half with a 5-minute tirade on Dylan Walker. You can only imagine what he was saying. And, you got to be the best sledger in the world to be able to sledge someone when you're down by 30 points.
That takes some doing, doesn't it?
Oh, mate, absolutely.
Tommy, that Josh Hannay said he did not enjoy that.
No. Tommy Turbo, 217 metres, 5 offloads, 3 line breaks, 14 tackle breaks, 3 try assists, and 3 tries in just a class of his own. And mind you, that was only in 63 minutes. He got rested for the last 17. So, he's just he's just the best player in the game at the moment. Absolutely.
Hands down. Unbelievable. He is not human, that man, at the moment.
No.
Well, guys, I think we need a bit of a siren or some sort of alarm because it's that time of the week again. It is time for our set off 6. Let's see what we're going to be talking about tonight. At the risk of upsetting our regular followers, you, Mark Roberts, and Ciala, it's probably not really a rant or too much controversy here, but it's more of a discussion. So, tackle number 1, we're talking about the NRL being postponed. So, due to the snap lockdown, the Queensland government sent the NRL into chaos with that announcement in lockdown for southeast Queensland, including no professional sports to be played at all. So, the NRL clubs will be left wondering, well, what's going on with no clear direction coming through? I think we're all sitting here going, well, what does this mean for the NRL? They relocated because Queensland was supposedly COVID-free. And with all this, this sort of outbreak from those 5 schools up here in Queensland has sent everything into disarray. So they went into meetings. The NRL went into meetings with the Queensland government to try and get exemptions to play, which ultimately denied, and the Saturday games were cancelled. And the crowds had already started arriving at Rockhampton for the South of the Dragons game, and they were sent away.
Yeah.
And as we said, all Saturday games were postponed. And even by Saturday afternoon, we had no clearer idea about what was going to happen. And there was no real decision on Sunday games. And Peter V'landys continued the meetings into the night on Saturday. And as all the players, the 16 clubs, went into that level 4 biosecurity lockdown. And then a revised draw came out late Saturday evening for the Saturday games to then be shifted to Sunday and then Monday as well, and all at Suncorp Stadium. And you got to say, look, for all the criticisms, V'landys is the only sports operator who continues to keep the sport running through all this madness that's going on and continues to go on.
Absolutely. He's been a shining light for the NRL since taking on that role. And, he does come under criticism for some things, but you can't criticize him for making sure that the product is still there for the fans to watch. And we're very thankful that he's the guy running the show for us at the moment, because I don't think if Toddy Greenberg was still in charge, we would have got the season up and running like we did last year. And it just shows his great business sense that he's got through his association with the racing industry. It was great. It was an interesting thing. It was unprecedented. We had last year where they stopped the comp for 10 weeks, but they didn't stop around mid-round. So, there was a little bit of uncertainty there. But
what about Saturday night with no footy as well? Going double whammy, going into lockdown up here and then no footy.
What a punish that would have been. I mean, I'm lucky. I don't have a wife that lives with me. My girlfriend lives in a couple of suburbs away, and we haven't actually seen each other since the lockdowns in 4 weeks over 4 weeks because of what's going on. So, but for all you married guys in lockdown with wives and kids and no footy, I really felt for you on Saturday night last week. Yeah, I just sat here and watched the Olympics and had a couple of
What else have I
beers.
got to do then? I'm just kidding,
Yeah.
guys. Love you all.
Yeah, we love our wives.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole COVID, that whole shutdown of the comp really put a question mark on the grand final, and that leads us into our second point of the grand final dilemma. Where will the 2021 NRL grand final be played? You would have to assume, with COVID numbers not dropping in Sydney, and we're still up over 200 a day, that a Sydney grand final is remote at best. Melbourne have had more lockdowns than any other state since the pandemic started back in March 2020. But I think at the moment they might be COVID free. I'm not real sure on their current situation.
I believe there was
my current wife. Juan's not my wife, mate.
No, I believe there was. I heard late this afternoon there was a case in Victoria.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Suncorp Stadium would have been the favourite to host grand final, but I think the recent COVID outbreak in southeast Queensland could put that under considerable doubt now due to how quickly this strain spreads. And, you know, your Premier shutting down so quickly on Saturday has probably saved your state. I mean, you're getting 19, 20 cases a day, but we're still at 200, you know, and we're in full lockdown, and that's because of the spread of the disease. But I'll have a segue on that, a little anecdote that I can tell you about in relation to COVID down here in Sydney after I finish this. Is North Queensland a viable option? Because now there's a case now up in Cairns. So, you know, is that now going to force lockdowns up there? I don't know if anyone heard Andrew Voss on his SEN 1170 program during the week suggested, do the NRL reach out to the New Zealand government with a view to taking the grand final across the Tasman? You know, I mean, New Zealand are COVID free at the moment. It's a rugby league community. Obviously, there'd have to be some really strict protocols around the travel bubble and player isolations, you know, possibly a fly-in, fly-out scenario and so forth. But, you know, the New Zealand rugby league community have been starved of live rugby league, you know, professional rugby league for the past 2 seasons. So a sellout NRL grand final event would be pretty much guaranteed. Unfortunately, though, I don't think the NRL will seriously entertain the idea. But with the grand final still 9 weeks away, we've seen how quickly things can change. And, you know, it's definitely an unknown at this stage. It's something that we won't get further clarity on until probably a couple of weeks out from the grand final. I mean, the NRL still haven't announced where round 22 games get played next week. If you go to the draw, it's still got Melbourne playing at Melbourne. It's got the Warriors playing in Auckland. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that grand final. And just a quick one for everyone, and I'm not getting into a COVID rant or a get jabbed rant or don't get jabbed rant. You know, how you guys choose to deal with COVID in your own situations is entirely up to you, whether you get the jab or not, or choose not to get the jab. But there has been a case here in Sydney overnight where a young 25-year-old guy passed away from COVID. Now, he was at home. He didn't know that he had COVID. He didn't suffer the fever and all the side effects of COVID. He was just really fatigued and felt really, nauseous and tired, and passed away. It was found that he had COVID, and everyone else in his house has got COVID. They have the same kind of fatigue factor, and they've all now been hospitalised. So it just goes to show it's not exclusive to, you know, the older generation. It is hitting everyone now. It's a different strain, obviously. And, you know, take out of that what you will. But it just proves that, we're all at risk, and we still really have no information. I mean, like I said, I don't want to turn it into a COVID rant, but you can go on the internet and, you know, look up so much information, and you can get information saying one thing and then information saying the entirely different thing about it, and you've got to make up your own mind. And that's the thing with this, is it's it's a preference. You know, I'm not going to bag anyone who goes out and gets the jab, just as I'm not going to bag anyone who chooses not to get the jab. It's a personal preference thing here, and it's a scary thing that's happening to the world at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's put all of us on notice, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
There was that, and there was a 30-year-old that passed away as well. I believe last week.
Yep.
As well, so it definitely has to be taken seriously.
It's put the World Cup on under serious pressure too, hasn't it?
Exactly. It brings us straight onto that. You know, the word came through on Tuesday night that sanity had prevailed and the Rugby League World Cup had been postponed until the end of 2022, so end of next season. The 16 NRL clubs have joined forces to issue a statement to say that that's what the result they had wanted. They wanted it postponed.
Yep.
They reaffirmed their support for the decision by both, you know, the ARL Commission and the New Zealand Rugby League to withdraw from the World Cup if it's played as originally was scheduled in October and November of this year. And the reason being that the clubs were acting in the best interest of their players' health and safety and well-being, and the international game, you know, for the World Cup, we should not proceed in 2021 due to the circumstances. Based on the high infection rate over there in the UK, there's like 30,000 cases per day, and you know, the biosecurity and quarantine protocols that would be placed on all the players having just completed a lengthy period away from home during the NRL Premiership, and especially what's happened now with all the players going into that level 4 biosecurity as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's clear that it could never really have effectively gone ahead this year, especially you take Australia out of it and New Zealand out of it. And then if all the clubs not backing their players to go there, then that doesn't leave even the emerging nations that leaves them without a lot of their talent as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just from a Warriors point of view, because we've had the disrupted start to both of our seasons, but I don't think that we could have survived having a third season in a row with you know, maybe half of our squad traveling over to the UK, going there at risk. They were saying that it was highly likely that most players would have come back with COVID, would have contracted COVID when they were over there as well.
Yeah,
just due to the rate that it is spreading over there in the UK.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just been one of those things, isn't it? You know, it's the unknowns in terms of the process and protocols for players who get exposed, which was the big thing too. You know, I guess it's I mean, it's great that sanity's prevailed. We don't have to, you know, harp on this conversation anymore about all of it. But I mean, the two countries are in two separate states of dealing with COVID too. Like over in England, they've had, like, you know, the vaccines available for so long, and they're at the point now where, well, if you haven't got the jab, that's on you, and we're opening the country. Whereas we're still rolling out the jabs. You know, only a small percentage of our population has been vaccinated, and so we're at a different level of you know, vaccine rollouts and vaccines for our players. And I'm pretty sure, talking to Jazz, the players haven't been vaccinated yet, so they haven't had the jab.
So all that would need to be implemented at least as a start before even thinking about going over there.
Exactly.
For the tournament.
Yeah.
So it just isn't worth it at this stage.
Yeah. So it's just it's great that it's not going ahead. It would have been a really depleted Rugby League World Cup with pretty much zero interest from anyone that wasn't from Great Britain in the result.
Well, that's right.
So
would have been watching them turn up and play France or someone in the final.
Absolutely. The fourth point, just an update on the NRLW. So the NRL held discussions with the 6 participating clubs and the key stakeholders this week, and they've resolved to push ahead with the competition, but it would need to be delayed due to the uncertainty created by the lockdown restrictions here in New South Wales. It is the first time the Women's Elite competition will be played as a standalone event. after most matches acted as double headers in line with the men's final series in previous 3 seasons. So, excuse me, the 4th edition of the NRLW is expected to get underway in the first weekend of October, which will be in line with the Telstra Premiership Grand Final, I believe. So it'll be like a triple header, likely to take place at a selected venue on the Saturday, leading into the Grand Final on the Sunday. The competition will run for 6 weeks, with teams playing each other once before the top 2 sides advance to play for the Premiership in a standalone NRL Grand Final on the first weekend in November. Specific dates and venues are expected to be confirmed closer to competition kickoff, with the NRL monitoring the COVID-19 situation across Australia. All 6 squads will be able to begin training on August 30, with a 4-week preseason before another week's preparation leading into their opening round of clashes. The postponement of the competition is probably going to become a misfortune for some and an advantage for others. You're going to have, players getting over some injuries from their seasons this year, having the extra time to get ready. But then you've got like a team like Newcastle, who were expected to have at least 8 players from New Zealand come over. Now they're going to have to work through what this delay means with the Kiwi contingent, as players may not be able to commit to being in Australia for that period of time. Elsewhere, the competition's later starting date is likely to come with a further advantage for the Olympic Rugby 7 stars, who featured in last year's NRLW Grand Final. I already know that Warrior 36, Avania Polite, has already committed to the Titans for this season. So that'll be great to see her, and it'll be interesting to see if Elliot Green and Charlotte Caslick and some of the other girls come over and have a run. It's going to be interesting. They can't do what they're doing with the men's game because these girls, work, study, motherhood, all the rest of it. They can't do a COVID lockdown like they have for the NRL players. They're not full-time athletes. So delaying the season is probably the best scenario they can have. And for me, I think it's great. I love the women's game, as everyone knows. And I think it's going to be great that these girls still get an opportunity to play some footy. And for us, it gives us an extra month of watching some rugby league as well.
Yeah, that's it. 100%. Yeah. And it's like everything else, it's a day-by-day prospect at the moment, but great that Absolutely. It is going ahead at this stage.
Yeah.
Moving along, I want to talk about how long is too long. And by that, I mean how long do clubs persist with underperforming coaches. It's always a hot topic whenever a team goes on a losing streak, I should say. So what's a reasonable expectation for coaches to be given to build their new roster? So there are a lot of new coaches this year, as we know. We've got Brownie, Barrett, Walters, Toddy, Payton, and Griffin have all been given the opportunity to build their rosters and implement their systems regardless of where they finish on the ladder this season. So I wouldn't say it's like it's a free pass, but it's very rare for a coach to get punted in their first season, apart from Brian McLennan with us in 2012. But
Matty Elliott as well, didn't he? After his first season,
it was like a couple of rounds. I think it was like 3 or 4 rounds, maybe 5 rounds into his second season. So
poor old OME.
He probably hasn't recovered from it. He got
never been the same since.
With his gin, yeah. But absolutely, the coach under the most pressure at the moment is Michael Woogie Maguire, Michael Woganowski, and then probably Anthony O'Brien. I've got Anthony Seibold and Adam O'Brien mixed in there because they're both heavily entrenched. We'll just refer to them as Anthony O'Brien, the collective super coaching duo. What do you mean they're heavily entrenched? To a lesser extent there as well. I reckon Ricky Stewart and Holbrook too. When you look at the Titans, especially what they're expected to do with their roster and their recruits this season, and the Raiders dip in form. And Brad Arthur could very quickly find himself under pressure too if the Eels drop out of the top 4 race. And we talked about their run home before, like they're almost certain to do, and suffer another early exit from the finals. So how long do the Tigers persevere with Woogie? And, with Sheens coming on as the director of football is the question.
The question is, who else is there? Yep. You know what I mean? Like, who else is there out there that is considered a strong enough personality coach that's available to come in and kind of help that club. And I still think Maguire's the best man for the Tigers. You watch that Tigers documentary and you see the way he talks. You see he can't be. I mean, he can be blamed for some of the roster choices, but he can't be blamed for a lot of the roster choices. And until he gets rid of some of that money that's been tied up in guys like Russell Packer and Moses Mbai, he's going to struggle. I mean, you look at some of the guys in that side, like they've got a good crop of back rowers coming through in Luke Garner, Adam Seafarth. Luciano Leilua has been a revelation for the Tigers since he's come there. BJ was an absolute waste of space and money, and he's on the outer. And that's the thing though. You can't help. I mean, BJ Leilua was a world beater at the Raiders, so anyone
and James Roberts at the Broncos as well.
The Broncos too. Yeah. So anyone when those guys are available would have, with space in your cap, you probably would have gone after them as well. He can't be blamed for the players' inability to perform. And I think Sheen's coming in, working with Woogie. I think we'll see an improvement in the Tigers, but the Tigers are going to be like the Warriors. And if Tigers fans are expecting that they're going to be semi-final bound, in the next season or two, they need to get ready for the long. I mean, I know their drought has been, I think it's 10 years now that they haven't made finals footy, which is a long time, and I understand that. But I think they've got to be a little bit patient with some of the young crop of kids that they've got coming through as well, because they're going to build this squad around that. I mean, it's an exciting spine of Dane Laurie, Adam Dewey, and the young hooker, what's his name? Jacob Little. Yeah, him. Jacob Little. The only unknown in that is, do they persevere with Luke Brooks, or do they cut him loose and let him and try and find another halfback?
What do they say about the definition of madness, though? The same thing over and over.
But they do have Jackson Hastings coming, who, from all reports, has been playing good footy in the Super League, and Oliver Gildart, who the Warriors were linked to at the end of last year.
At him a few years ago.
Yeah,
he's a different body shape, tall, lanky kind of centre.
Yeah, absolutely. Hammer putting it nice and safely with one watching on. No, absolutely. It's just my thoughts. I'm a fan of Woogie. I think Woogie's, he's our national coach as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. Finally, the last point is for those that don't live in New South Wales, in our COVID haven of New South Wales, Venues New South Wales, which is the company that controls all the venues within New South Wales, obviously. They've reportedly flagged vaccine passports as a requirement for fans to attend live sport in 2022. Not just NRL, that's all live sport. So with an enormous vaccination push rolling out through the state, Venues New South Wales chairman Tony Shepherd told The Telegraph that it will be a requirement for fans to be vaccinated to attend sport in 2022. The rollout here has been pretty slow so far, so it can't be introduced until everyone's had a fair opportunity to be vaccinated. However, it will then be a case that if you haven't been vaccinated, you can't come. So if you choose not to have the jab, it's your civil right. But the Delta strain is extremely transmissible, and they need to do something to reopen the stadiums and the venues because they're losing so much money. So venues will have to say that you can't attend. It's as simple as that. So I don't know if it'll be through our Service New South Wales app, which is like that Queensland app that you guys have where you got to scan in
everywhere. Yep.
Because that holds, like I've got my recreational fishing license on there. I've got my driver's license. if you have a plane license or a helicopter, it keeps everything in one spot. So I don't know once you get the second jab, whether that then becomes another license so that if you go anywhere, you've got this to show. It's just an interesting thing, and it could be something that ends up getting adopted by other states as well. Especially because, like, say, for instance, you living in Queensland, but coming down to New South Wales to watch a game, you would need to have a venues New South Wales, like a COVID passport. So if it's not bought in Queensland, then it kind of restricts people from coming from Queensland to watch game, and vice versa.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if they want to open up the whole country and encourage interstate travel, they would have to adopt something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Malcolm Earnshaw is saying, my mate heard a rumor Manu may pick Chiefs and follow RTS. It's interesting to note with Joey Manu that he has accepted a role back in Waikato as an ambassador for, I'm not sure what it is, whether it's a school or a charity or an organisation.
I'm not sure exactly, but you have to think: is he going to fulfil his obligations for that in the off season when he goes back to New Zealand to visit family and friends, or is that a sign of things to come that he's planning on relocating back to New Zealand? Who knows? You
can read it into it anyway, because he did an interview the other week where he said he was really missing his family. He hasn't seen his family in New Zealand for some time. So who knows? Possibly. Mark Roberts said, stupid. They can't push that because it's a personal medical decision. Only way they could make it legal is if the government made it law. And that's what they're talking about, mate, is because the disease is so transmissible and, the shutdowns, these sporting closures and restrictions and shutdowns are costing government so much money that having this passport is the only way you're going to watch live sports. So it's a watch this space kind of scenario here in Australia.
It is.
Yeah, we're doing it a lot tougher, and we're a lot more stupid than what you guys are back over the ditch there, because I don't know. It's just for some reason it's just so easily transferable over here, and it's spreading like Wi-Fi, especially here in Sydney.
Yeah, we're 200 cases a day. Yep.
Yeah. Round 21 team list, mate.
Absolutely. The team named to take on the Sharkies at, it was to be Suncorp Stadium, but we understand it's now been moved to Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. Not that matters, because there will be no crowds, but the team named Reece Walsh at the back, DWZ and Marcello Montoya, Hectic Montoya on the wings. Hiku shifts back to centre, and Viliami Valia retains his spot in the team.
Yeah.
And Chanel Harris-Davida returns at 6, partnering Sean O'Sullivan at 7 in the halves. Great to see AFB and Logie back into the team and the props. Jazz Tavanga comes in for Otokolo, who was injured. And Ewan Aiken, interesting to see him, his first named start midweek for the number 11 jersey in the second row, and Josh Curran.
Yep.
Back into the team, number 12, Bailey Sirinen, and the bench is Nikarima, Afoa, Evans, Origami Evans there, and Elisi Katoa. On the extended bench, we've got JTB, Kossi, Murchie, and Pompey.
Yeah. Adam Fanua-Blake and Matt Lodge back in the front row, both massive ins. Significant difference in our go forward this week, I am sure. Jazz named a hooker. I thought that was an interesting selection until I found out that young Taniela Otokolo has suffered a knee injury, and he's expected to be out for a couple of weeks. Good to see Aitken retaining his spot as an edge back rower. He's given an opportunity there, which also gives young Viliami Valea a chance to, get his second opportunity in a Warriors jersey. Keeping Pompey out is a big one, though.
I was surprised by that too. He probably hasn't done too much wrong, but I think we're expecting a little bit more from Pompey based on what we know he can bring. He has been a little bit quiet in recent weeks.
I think Pompey's inability, his He's fast becoming a taller version of Solomon Akata. With his, I mean, he had a good passing game. He had a nice little offload game early in the season, but he seemed to put that in his back pocket too. And I don't know whether that's a confidence thing, where he lost a bit of confidence through injury and then not making the squad. So, but it's really affecting our edge plays, because our wingers, a couple of opportunities, especially last weekend, where DWZ was unmarked and Pompey didn't give him the ball. Hiku back into the centres. I would predict this week, if the Warriors score points, it's going to be down Marcelo Montoya's wing. And CHT coming back, given an opportunity, as Mark Roberts just put there, CHT given an opportunity behind this mobile running forward pack now. And Sean O'Sullivan at 7 to control. This is Chanel's audition for partnering Sean Johnson next year in the 6 jersey. He won't be required to, be the game organizer and lead the team around, because that's obviously going to be Shawnee's job. So Chanel is now looked at that 6, who can, play off the back of some good go forward, get some shape in his outside men, and chime in where he can. So good to see that he gets that opportunity this week. And just a quick shout out to our mate B.A. Baracus, Ben Murdoch-Masilla, who is unfortunately out for the season with a foot injury. He did have surgery on Tuesday, and I sent him a message this morning, and he said everything went well. And now he's just hoping he can, support the boys on their run home this season. One interesting one is Chad Townsend, not named. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
I seeing him not mentioned. Okay, so he could be injured, and we know he has been carrying that injury since his first game for the Warriors this year against the Dragons. But could this be in line with Brownie's thoughts on the development for next season? Obviously, Townsend brought in as a hired gun for the end of the season, and he may now only be finding himself playing if we're desperate and out of necessity, essentially.
I think so too.
Weeks. Yeah,
I think so too, mate. Yeah, it's and thank you very much to Chad Townsend, but I'm all for our players getting the opportunity. The interesting one for me, though, is Sean O'Sullivan still there at halfback. Does that mean he's in the mix for maybe another 1-season extension on his current contract, or is it just a stopgap?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. He's probably not going to have a lot of interest out there, and the Warriors may feel that we need a bit more depth after the injury crisis that we've had this year. And he's proven that he can play and he can produce the goods in big games, as he has a couple of times this year.
Yeah,
it might be handy to have him around, and especially with Johnson's recent history of injuries. So I would not be surprised to see him retain on another 1-year deal.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed to it either. As I said, he's one of those players that. Another season for our daddy's boy. Exactly. He's one of those. He's one of those players that he hasn't really had a lot of first-grade experience. He's been a stopgap at the Roosters. He was a stopgap at the Broncos. He's come to us, and we've used him as a stopgap. And therefore, when he does get his opportunities, he sometimes tries a little bit too hard. Whereas if he just
plays his hand,
if he just played a little bit more patient and played his natural game of footy, then we might get a better end result out of him. So if that's one bit of advice I could give to Shawnee, that'd probably be it. Just don't overthink things too much. Just do your job. Which is obviously work the team around, kick into the corners. Do your job and the rest will come. The only other one I thought that the Warriors might look at is Jaden Nikorima, but it's been he's signed on with the Melbourne Storm from next year on.
Yeah.
So
that's what I read during the week as well, which is disappointing because he had been showing some good form for Redcliffe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, moving on, mate.
all
Round 21 preview. Thursday night at Sunshine Coast Stadium. Well, who knows where all these games will end up being played now. It is scheduled for Sunshine Coast Stadium. We've got the Knights and the Broncos. The Knights, Mitch Pearce returning from injury, named at halfback to partner Clifford. Chris Randall named at hooker for the injured Jaden Brayley in the HIA protocols, and especially with the 4-day turnaround, preventing him from playing. Connor Watson named at 13. David Clemmer again named to start from the bench. And for the Broncos, Brady Croft and Tyson Gamble in the halves. Named for a fourth week in a row. Unprecedented from Kevy there.
That's Kevin Walters' record, I think, mate.
It certainly is. Jesse Arthur's named in the centres to replace Katoni Staggs. Danny Levi named at hooker to replace injured Jake Turpin. And TC Rabadi returns from a few weeks out to be named on the bench. The form that the Knights showed last week, I'm going to stick with them in a close one. 1 to 12 for me.
I agree. Pearce is a massive in. And the Broncos without Staggs and Turpin really lose some of that attacking strike power that they've kind of had over the past couple of weeks against lesser opponent, let's say. So, yeah, for me, I don't think it'll be a blowout kind of game. I think that the Broncos are starting to find a bit of heart. So I think it'll be a 1 to 12. Friday night. We're at Seabus Super Stadium for a double header. The first game is Raiders versus the Dragons. Raiders. Matt Tomoko, the new man in the Raiders backline, replacing Sebastian Chris, who will miss the game due to HIA protocols. I think the turnaround's too soon. Joey Tarpanay named to start, pushing Kebab Boy Emre Gula back to the bench. Ryan Sutton named in the starting pack, forcing CHN, Corey Huddewield Naira back to the bench, which I thought was an interesting one. I thought Corey's probably been one of their form forwards. And then Elijah Anderson, the new man on the bench, forcing the veteran Isaiah Soliola back to the extended bench. For the Dragons, Coach Anthony Griffin's taken his crazy pills again this week. Or he's gotten...
Is it Griffin, or has he got someone else naming the team for him?
Or maybe Old Man Elliott's taken over the naming rights for the side. They've named Jack Bird at fullback, with Matt Duffy again named on that extended bench, and that probably indicates that Duffy's probably played his last game in the famous Red V, I would say. Footy player for a day, Cody Ramsey named in the centres, along with the prodigy, Zach Lomax, returning from a long injury layoff. The Silverback returns from his suspension, Michaeli Ravalawa, to take his spot on the wing. Josh Maguire returns from suspension, as too does Jack Bedbug DeBellin. And Corey Norman named at 6 and Adam Clune named at 7 to replace the injured Ben Hunt. For me, no Ben Hunt for the Dragons is a huge loss, and they'll lose that direction in that kicking game. Raiders will get over the hiccup of last week, and I think the Raiders will get 13 plus.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big win to the Raiders as well. I think last week's game against the Knights might just be a bit of a hiccup. Moving on, and we've got the Eels up against the Rabbits for the second Friday night game there. Eels welcome back Mitchell Moses for the first game since Origin with that well-publicised back injury. And Oregon and Kafusi named to replace the injured Regan Campbell-Gillard. And the Fresh Prince, Will Smith, named on the bench. And Fish Eyes Sean Lane, unable to break into the starting 13, named on the bench also. And for the Rabbitohs, no changes to the back line that took on the Dragons last week, with Campbell, Dexter, Serial Killer Graham, and Alex Johnson both out injured. And Cameron Murray returns from a week on the sideline, with Jairo moving to an edge and Jaden Sewer dropping back to the bench there. And the Coro, Benji Marshall, makes his long-awaited return from extended solo isolation, which must have been crazy. This shaping up as a fairly good game. I think the Rabbitohs are going to be too strong, though. I'm actually going to pick Rabbitohs 13 plus here. I think if they get away from the Eels, then they could really put on some points again. Yeah,
I think Mitch Moses back will certainly give the Eels some direction around the park. But it all depends on how heavily involved he is in their general play. coming back from a back injury, could be a little bit underdone for confidence. But that Rabbit spine of Cook, Reynolds, Walker, and Mitchell, all in great form. Rabbit's going to be hard to beat. The Eels playing for some semi-final credibility here. I think it'll be a close one, but I think the Rabbits will win by 1-12. Which brings us to our game. Warriors versus Sharks. Seabus Super Stadium on the Saturday. Warriors, as we said, Fanua, Blake and Lodge back into the front row. Ewan Aitken retaining his spot in the back row. Jazz named at his less preferred position of hooker. Curran and Harris DeVita returning from injury. Hiku back into the centres. And Valea, after a solid showing last week, gets his second opportunity in the centres. For the Sharks, returns from injury to partner the serial sprayer Will Chambers in the centres. Connor Tracy and Braden Trindle retained as the starting halves, with Matt Moylan again named on the extended bench. Aidan Tolman drops back to the bench with Toby, Wishdrogo, Rudolph moving into the front row and Jack Williams at lock. Look, I think Lodge and AFB are huge ins for us, and Curran back to play on an edge. We've really missed his involvement of late. The Sharks still a grinding type of team, and Trindle and Tracy are playing well together in the halves, but I'm thinking off the back of last week's unlikely win, the Warriors will get a bit of confidence out of that, and I'll tip us to win 1-12.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're gonna get a very close win here. I'm gonna go my usual prediction: a very nervous 4-point victory. Next game up is Roosters versus Panthers. Roosters, Adam Kieran retains his spot in the centres with Josh Morris injured. This is the second game on Super Saturday there. Joey Marnie back to his preferred centre position, and Dale Copley named on the wing on loan. Well, he's not on loan. He's signed with the Roosters for the remainder of the season again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so that's interesting. On the wing, Isaac Liu keeps Tauki Ahu on the interchange bench. And the Roosters named their dangerous back row of Radley, Tupanua, and Lord Farquhar. But for the Panthers, Paul Momorowski named to replace the suspended Stephen Crichton. Capewell into the centres, pushing Brent Powder-Naden onto the wing. And Burton and Luai named in the halves again, with Nathan the Cyborg Cleary named on the extended bench, and a very real possibility of being a late inclusion there. Fun time Zappy back at hooker after his suspension. Isaiah Yeo back from injury. Pangai Jr. from the outhouse to the penthouse, named on the Panthers bench. So, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. The Panthers side. Yeah, look, the Roosters amazingly just keep ticking away, don't they? They just keep soldiering on. I'm going to pick the Roosters in a close one here. I think that the form that they displayed last week will give them a lot of confidence, and I think that will be enough for them to get a very narrow win over the Panthers.
Yeah, like you said, with their massive injury list, they've been able to maintain their form and position in the top 8, on the top 4, really, all season. Pangai Jr. making his first appearance for the Panthers is going to reignite that feud with Victor Radley. Remember, it was the Broncos Roosters game where Radley became crazy Victor.
Went nuts,
yeah, which resulted in him, losing his origin spot and all the rest of it. So that'll be a good one to watch. It's already for me. It's if Cleary plays, Panthers win. If Cleary doesn't play, Roosters win. So 1-12 either way, but it all depends. It all depends on whether Cleary plays. And if Cleary plays, I'm expecting Cleary will play half, which will move Burton back to the centres, which will move Capewell back into the back row, which will probably push somebody onto a bench, which probably Scott Sorensen either onto the bench or out of that 17-man squad. So it's kind of the team's already set up so that they can train all week without too much interruption, and then the only change will be Capel going back to his usual position. So I think there's a good chance he'll play, but we'll see. I mean, I guess the only thing this season too is, does it really matter if you finish first or fourth in the top four now, because you don't get the home semi-final advantage anyway?
Yeah, with no home semi. Yeah.
No. So no, you're kind of no better off or no worse off other than bragging rights. So do they rest him another week and, maybe forego the 2 points and make sure he's right for the semis, or do they bring him back now and, there's a good chance he's a little bit underdone, and so we'll see what his dad Ivan has in store for him. Yeah, going to be interesting.
Skynet. See if Skynet takes over.
Yeah, see what Skynet says. The next game, the Sea Eagles versus Storm, in an absolute blockbuster. Manly with an unchanged backline, Tommy Turbo in career best form, and the centre pairing of Hank Scorpio and Reece Feldman going from strength to strength each week. Taniela Paseka named to start in the front row, but pushing Toff Sipley back to the bench. That could change, though, if Paseka is suspended for his trip. And Josh Aloiai, the new man coming onto the bench. The Storm. No changes to the Storm backline, surprisingly, with Hines being named at fullback again and Pappenhausen named on the bench. Chris Lewis named to replace the suspended Felice Kafusi in the back row. Baby Bigfoot Kenny Bromwich named, but has to pass his HIA protocols later in the week to play. And Tom Eisenhuth returns onto the Storm bench with Tui Kamakamitha, Big Nelson, and Warriors signing Aaron Penne all available due to injury. For me, undoubtedly the game of the round with the 2-4 teams of the comp going head-to-head. If Manly get an even share of the ball and Turbo is able to have his usual high involvement, I think Manly win. But I think the Storm are just such a well-oiled machine who have the defensive structures in place, who will know how to take Turbo out of the game, particularly Hughes' and Munster's kicking game. It's going to be an interesting one. Key matchups, DCE versus Hughes, Munster versus Foran. But I think Melbourne's pack comes out on top in the battle of the middle. And so I'm going to pick the Storm 1-12 in a really close one, though.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tip against the Storm at the moment. I'm really looking forward to watching this one, but I think Storm in a close one. So 1-12.
Yep.
Sunday was to be Morton Daly, or if it's still there, I don't know where any of the games are still going to be played Daly anymore, but it's still there. We've got the Bulldogs up against the Tigers. Bulldogs, Nick Meaney moves from fullback. Falakiko Manu, named.
Sorry, they're at Seabus. It's been moved.
Seabus. Okay, Seabus is. I thought there might have been some late changes there. Yeah. Was named on the wing to replace big sexy Jaden Ockenbaugh. Bailey Blondiodo and the surprise selection in the halves with Jake Avarillo. And the Scarecrow once again dropped from the 17. Siu Manafangai and the man named place the suspended Luke Thompson in the front row. For the Tigers, Augie has named Michael Cheekham, named in the centres. Moses Mbai at fullback to replace Dane Laurie. Sean Blaw retains his back row spot for the second start of the year. And Thomas McKaylee and James Tarmo both return from, and Kelma Tuilagi retains his bench. The Cougar on the bench. Look, I don't know that the Tigers can play. I don't know that the Tigers again, so I think surely they get a narrow victory in this game.
On your Robbo.
Look, for me, if the Tigers then lose this game, then I think Woogie is under immense pressure and in serious trouble to keep his job. Barrett changing his halves again. It's really not giving an opportunity to develop any combinations there. I know they've got Burton coming next year, and Avarillo's the man to, probably play in the halves with him. But this in and out shit that he's done all season with the Scarecrow, Brandon Wakeham, Lachlan Lewis, and now he's putting young Biondioto in there. I just think the Tigers will be too strong, and I will pick the Tigers. I don't think it'll be a big win, I think, but 1-12. They'll be like us. They'll take the win. And the last game of the round, Seabus Super Stadium, the Titans taking on the Cowboys. Paddy Herbert returns from injury into the centres with Isan Masters dropping out of the squad. Hasn't he been a disappointment since leaving the Tigers? He was a world beater. Toby Sexy Sexton, again named at halfback with Jamal Fogarty named on the extended bench. Mitch Rain retains a hooking role, but our mate Ez Clark back from injury named on the bench. And David Feeder named to start, but I expect Coach Holbrook to bring him on from the bench late in the second half, which would mean Bo Firma to start. The Cowboys, Valentine Holmes returns from injury, slotting back into the fullback role, with stand-in fullback Jake Granville moving to the interchange bench. Benny Hampton named in the centres, and Murray Tuolungi moves to the wing in place of the injured Kane Bradley. Cohen Hess, Helium Lukey, and Tom Gilbert all promoted to the starting 13 this week by Toddy, with Mitch Dunn and Ben Condon pushed back to the bench, and Francis Molo onto the extended bench, which was a surprise. And Warrior 232, Lockie Burr, the new man on the bench. For me, Holmes back for the Cowboys is a big in, and Dearden and Drinkwater really starting to develop a nice combo there. But the Titans have got everything to play for, and they should get the result. Unfortunately, their inconsistency has been a problem all season. Just when you think they've unlocked the key for that side to put in, to go on a bit of a run and play the footy that we're expecting them to play, they put in an absolute shocker. So I'm tipping the Titans 13 plus, but if the Cowboys got up and won, it really wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I'm thinking this one will be a fairly close game, but I'm expecting the Titans fairly close to about probably the last quarter, and I'm picking that the Titans will pull away and get a fairly comfortable win. So I'm picking the Titans by 13 plus there as well. Yeah,
absolutely. It should be a good round of footy though. At this stage, obviously there's no indication of when crowds might be allowed back to live games. So in the meantime, we will be doing a live watch event for the Warriors games. This week we'll be joined by a good friend from Warriors NRL Fanatics, Christian Catley. He's going to jump on for our watch party. Of course, pending his availability, we'll have Jay Harris jump on as well. He's always good for a watch party. So that watch party will be commencing at 2:50 on our Facebook and YouTube channels. You'll be able to stream in live. If anyone is keen to be involved in like a watch party with us, just send us a message and we'll try and organise something for the upcoming rounds. We'd really love to get some of our Kiwi-based fans on.
I'm looking at you, Mark. Roberts.
We're looking at you, Marky Roberts. We'd love you to jump on for a watch party with us. 4 games left. We've got, the Bulldogs, the Broncos, the Raiders, and Gold Coast. So it'd be great if we could get some people jumping on for those watch parties.
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's good fun, good banter.
Yeah, it is. It is. And live chats. We've got a couple of live chats coming up, mate. We've got the little general himself, Stacey Jones, booked in
for that one.
Absolutely, mate. He's booked in for unusual time of Saturday, the 14th of August at 9 a.m. Now, it's an early start because of Stacey's commitments over in New Zealand. We can't get him on at night because of his commitments, and then he's got commitments on Saturday afternoon. The only time he was really available was like 11 a.m. New Zealand time, hence the 9 a.m. start here. So, and we've really only got him for an hour. So, such is his
sweet. Yeah, and we're going to get straight to the meat of that. Yeah.
If there is any questions that people want us to ask Stacey, please start sending them in because we won't be doing a live
live questions. We just won't have time, unfortunately.
Yeah, we won't have time. If anyone does have any questions for Stacey, that'll be awesome. Just send them through to us. And then following on from that, we got a couple of other ones. No dates yet booked, but appearances confirmed. Georgia Hale, who'll come on and discuss the Warriors and RLW, as to will Karina Brown, Brent Tate, former Warrior. And we've also connected with Andy Raymond, the former broadcaster on Fox Sports, who does his own podcast stuff now. And he will be a really good chat, I reckon, to learn about his history in the game, and some of the games that he commentated on, some of the funny personalities he's met. I'm sure he's got some funny stories to tell. So a couple of live chats coming up very, very soon. And again, if you happen to miss the live shows and you're watching this on replay, you can always catch us on Facebook in our video section, also on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. We put daily content up on Instagram. And if you're looking for something to listen to on your way to work, or just while you're doing the housework, or chilling out at home, you can find us on our podcast platforms on Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, Radio Direct, and now iHeartRadio as well.
So no excuses to miss out, guys. Plenty of options there to catch up on the show if you are unable to catch us live on the Wednesday nights. So, so looking forward to this Saturday afternoon to do our live watch. And again, if you're interested in being involved, get in touch. The more the merrier. And another uncertain week, but we do have some footy coming up, so that is always a big plus.
Yeah, absolutely. To everyone out there, make sure you stay safe. To those in lockdown, make sure you do as much as you can to alleviate the boredom, whether it be going back and listening to Roo Hammer podcasts, or jumping onto our YouTube channel and watching previous Roo Hammer episodes, or jumping onto our videos on Facebook and watching previous Roo Hammer videos. There's plenty of stuff for you guys to do.
So make sure you always you tell your friends to jump in and give us a watch, give us a like, and especially you guys. Thanks very much to all you guys that are watching on YouTube as well. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Lots of good stuff coming up there too.
Absolutely. But for this week, we wish you all a good night. Everyone stay safe. And we will see you on Saturday for our live watch party.
Until then, stay safe all.